Hi everyone. I thought I would do an update video. It's been a while since I did the last one on my car, which I think was regarding the bumpers. But the most recent development with my Audi was having to do the heater core. And I also thought I'd just do an update on the Android system because I'll tell you more about that now. But yeah, it turns out the heater core had packed up on my car because I noticed the windshield kept fogging up every time I would put the heat on in the car. And as you can see, here's the old heater core that I took out, and you can see all that pink crud all over it. That's actually coolant, believe it or not. And that thing, that little thing, I mean, look at it in comparison to my car's door. It's not a very big thing. Hello, Dash. It sits way in here in a big plastic box called the HVAC. Where you will find the aircon evaporator to the left, which is sitting over there, just down here. And on this side, right here in the middle, this is where the heater core sits, right in there in the middle. Now, what happened is I had to remove the entire dash in order to do that. All of this had to come out, all of it. This whole upper thing, the instrument cluster, I mean, it was, well, using that word cluster, I could think of another term. It really was the worst thing I've ever been through in my entire life, working on a car by myself. I did have help doing it, my partner helped me, but having to do this myself instead of taking it to a dealer, let's say, it really was difficult. It took the whole of Saturday and half of Sunday, and we actually found that when we put the HVAC back in, we already had the top skin back on and everything, and these metal brackets that go behind here. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that need to be loosened and taken off. That there were plugs that were not plugged in at the back of the HVAC, so we had to take everything out again, take the HVAC out, plug in the wires, put the HVAC back, and when we were around about the same place, having gotten the dash back in, we didn't have the center console in, mostly the top, didn't have the bottom in yet. We realized that the aircon's drip pipe was actually not into the hole that's supposed to go out the car. It was going to drip into the footwell, and that actually, it's probably too dark to see, but it's sitting down there. So we had to take everything out again, and what I found is, and then put it all back together again, and what I found is, on a lot of the tutorials that I watched on YouTube, everyone keeps saying you have to remove the steering wheel, and I just couldn't understand why you had to remove the steering wheel. It didn't make sense, because if you loosen the upper part of the dash and you just drop, there are 4 big bolts underneath here that hold the steering in place, and once you loosen those, the steering just drops onto the seat over here. So I thought, well, if you're going to drop the steering, then you should be able to take the top of the dash skin out, and then we had to, obviously, underneath here, the airbag is held on by 4 big bolts, and then there's also some other bracket with 3 bolts attached to that, which holds the airbag in. I had to undo those. We disconnected the battery so that the airbag lights wouldn't come on, and thank goodness now you can see there the airbag light comes on when you turn the ignition on, and it goes off. So, and when I start the car, you'll see all the lights go off. Just my parking brake is on. So yeah, it's going in for a service inspection next week. And this is why I did the heater core now. Car's still very, very cold. I'm going to close the door here. So yeah, it was a very, very difficult thing to do. It wasn't enjoyable. I did not enjoy this in the least, and I never ever want to have to do something like this again, ever. My whole body was sore. My hands are my body's full of bruises. My hands are full of scrapes and scratches. This car drew blood. I honestly don't understand, if you look at this thing, why it is designed with a plastic top portion and a plastic bottom portion. I just don't understand that. Why would they design it that way? I know why. Because that's how motor manufacturers keep money rolling in after they've sold a car. And why they would design a car with a dash that has to be removed in such a way. I don't know how they built this car on the production line. It must have taken 6 weeks to build this car on the production line, maybe longer. Looking at all the steps involved in just putting the dash together, or taking it apart for that matter, but putting it together really was a pain. So I managed to get all my plugs, my Wi-Fi goodie back in there and everything. I must put all my stuff back in my glove box. We even took out the passenger seat because it was just easier working in here. So I unplugged the airbag for the seat, and we took the seat out completely. The aircon, just to be clear, the aircon had to be evacuated before this job could be done, because we had to disconnect the evaporator core on that side inside the engine bay, as well as the heater core, because the two pipes, the heater core, stick through the firewall of the car into the bonnet. So I have to take the car in to have it regassed, so that my aircon can work again. And yeah, that's all that really needs to be done now. I just put my stereo back in yesterday. Now this is actually what I want to talk about. As you can see, it's on radio right now, and you'll see that in my previous reviews that I did of the this Android system, as well as the review I did of the car, I told you guys that the radio wasn't working because I short-circuited the antenna booster wire. Now what I did yesterday when I hooked the whole thing back up again, something said to me, just try one more time and to get the radio to work. So what I did is I found a wire, which a tiny wire with a tiny little, it was a brown wire with a tiny little brass clip on it, and that was plugged into the OE radio when I pulled it out. But I didn't think anything of it because it was clipped onto the metal portion, the housing of the radio, and I thought maybe it's a ground or something, and this radio is pretty grounded. So I didn't bother hooking it up to anything. And then yesterday I thought maybe that was the antenna booster, and maybe 5 volts or something was being transferred to that metal prong that thing was clipped into. So I took the wire that comes out of the radio for the antenna booster, and I took the antenna adapter blue wire that comes with the antenna adapter for boosted antennas, and I connected those two together, and I connected those two to that wire that came out of the car, and voila, the radio started working. And so it wasn't working, it wasn't not working as a result of me having blown anything, it was just not working because I didn't rig it up properly. So this is the radio.
Massive right now. So we've got the new Macklemore for
And okay, that station's not very good.
Is he coming down to Nickel from
So all the radio stations are now working, and as you can see, it's got RDS.
Ready to call is 08282.
Now this station has a rolling thing here, and I don't know why. I don't know why it's not working too well, this station, because
as a regular
there we go.
money list was a special achievement for the big two-time European tour winner.
And
Took to social media to express his happiness, saying he'd fulfilled the dream to secure his playing privilege.
well, it usually has a rolling, a scrolling thing there. I don't know why it's not doing it now. As the car warms up, my climate control keeps stepping up the volume here. So it's working really, really great. And I'm really glad to have the 5FM, especially, as one of our favorite radio stations in South Africa. But I don't really use the radio a lot. I barely use it at all, actually. Hey, this thing keeps stepping up as the car warms up. I'm going to switch it off. So yeah, the radio is now working, and you know, everything's hunky-dory there. So I'm quite happy about that. That it's not anything that I did, but I can go to my music and I can play my music. So I'm gonna just turn the car off. So yeah, that's the update on the heater core, and the Android sound system. So thank you for watching, and yeah, there's a tutorial for anyone who wants to do your own heater core. God help you. There's a tutorial on Audi forums which I downloaded. I'm going to post the link to that tutorial at the bottom of this video, and it's basically just copy and paste it into a Word document and print it out, because that's what I did. He doesn't tell you everything in the tutorial though. There's certain things you have to figure out for yourself, especially when you get to undoing the airbag on the side. This cover over here is held in, this cover comes off, and this cover is held in by 2 screws right underneath the instrument cluster once you take the instrument cluster out. And they're very, very difficult to get to screws because they actually go up, and you need some kind of, luckily we've got a very long, it looks like a worm. It's a very long sort of stringy thing which you can actually put a screwdriver tip on, and you can get into difficult to reach places or spots. And when you take the top skin off, there's like a vent, a plastic vent inside here which clips into the HVAC inside there. And in order to get the HVAC out, you need to lift that inner vent out. It has to come up and out. There are 2 screws holding that in, and I don't know how the hell you're supposed to get to those screws, because it was just virtually impossible. And I eventually just got the helling, and I just yanked it. I pulled it up and out, but it was still attached to the car. And I thought, well, if the screws break, they break. Just tough. You know, I'd spent enough time already just trying to get the dash out, and I wasn't going to let that defeat me. I was so close to getting the HVAC out, and that was standing in my way. So there are vents that come through down here. They go under the seats, they go down here, and they go under the seats to create, you know, either cooling or heat for the back passengers. There are vents that come out the side over here. You've got to take all that out. All of it must come out. But all I can say is, when you get to that part there, don't bother unscrewing it. Just yank it up, and you'll then be able to, it'll lift, and you'll be able to get the HVAC out. When you put the HVAC back in, you need somebody to pull the pipe that's connected to that thing over there, just pull it forward so that when you slip the HVAC in, it can slip in, and then you push the top vent back down again while it's still bolted to the car. Don't bother unbolting it. You are really going to struggle to unbolt it. How the hell they got that thing in there when they were building the car, I want to say something else, but God alone knows, because it really was a bitch, and I really wasn't going to let that get in my way. As you can see, my dash is still very dirty. It's full of fingerprints. I have to clean it up properly. I haven't had a chance to even secure the the GPS. You can see I just stuck it on the old tape that I had there. So I need the GPS antenna needs to be neatly done. I'm going to be booking the car in later today for its service next week. The engine really does need a service, and there's a creak coming from that side of the car when I take corners, when I pull away on a corner. So I don't know what that is. It could be an engine mounting, it could be a gearbox mounting, it could be a CV joint, it could be... It's a creak. It's not a clacking sound which a CV joint normally makes, but who knows? I don't know what it is. They will have to just let me know what it is. I've already bought a CV joint just in case it is. It's a second-hand one. And if I don't use it, I can take it back for a credit. It's not the end of the world. They charge me 10% handling, and it's no problem at all. So yeah, that's it. Have a look at the link below to go to the heater core tutorial. And also, if you have one of these cars and you don't yet belong to Audi forums, I really recommend joining them, because you get a lot of advice from guys who have done this themselves before. A lot of them work on their own cars. I mean, these are old cars now. I mean, this car's in a few years' time is 20 years old. It's kind of difficult to tell. 20 years old, still looks pretty good. You know, big things like that where the dealer would charge the equivalent of $1,400. I mean, they want to charge me 15,000 Rand to do this job in labor alone. I bought the heater core for 1,500 Rand, which is about $150, $160, at a pirate store. It's not a genuine part, because the genuine part's it's stupid, the prices they charge. I'm not going to spend $800 on a new heater core for this car. If this heater core lasts for another 10 years, then that's great. I don't think I'll have the car in 10 years. It's starting to rain now. I don't think I'll have the car in 10 years time. The evaporator was done earlier this year, and yes, I recommend that if you do the heater core and your evaporator is not faulty, do the evaporator at the same time, because you don't want to. I can guarantee you will end up doing the heater core and your evaporator will pack up 6 to 8 months down the line. So if you're doing one, do the other. I should have done my heater core when I did the evaporator, and the aircon place actually did the evaporator, and they had everything out. They didn't charge me a lot of money to do it, oddly. But when I went to them and asked them could they do the heater core for me, they refused, because they only do aircons. So when they did the evaporator and they had everything out, I should have just gone and bought a heater core, gone down there and said, look, while you got the HVAC out, you do the evaporator, I'll put the heater core in myself, and then you just put the whole HVAC back into the car, and I could even help them put the dash back together. And when I took the car down there, I took all of this out of the car already. I had the whole center console, all of this, everything was out. The only thing they had to do was remove the radio cage that was behind here to get everything out. And then obviously the top skin and the instrument cluster. And I don't think they too took the steering wheel out. So I don't know why they say on the forums you've got to take the steering wheel out. I didn't do that. And I can guarantee you that taking the steering wheel off is also a pain, because there are 2 screws behind here that work with an Allen key, and they're very, very difficult to get loose. If yours are loose, well, then you just pray you don't have an accident, because the airbag, this entire thing could end up in your face. So if you do the one, do the other. Bottom line, So have a look at Audi forums and have a look at the tutorial. It really will open your eyes, and yeah, as I said, when you go, as you're doing the job, you will find that there are things that it doesn't tell you, that you need to figure out for yourself. I didn't really know which bolts to undo down there. I just had a very good look. I took my time. It took about 10 minutes just looking at the whole setup, what was attached to what, because there's a big metal bar behind the dash, and everything is actually bolted onto that metal bar. Then they also say you must remove the metal bar. I didn't do that. I managed to get the HVAC out without doing that, because they're like really big bolts on that side and big bolts on this side holding that metal crossbar, which is obviously like a brace or a strut that keeps the rigidity of the car. I didn't want to touch that. The bottom line is I just left it, and I managed to get the HVAC out without taking that out. So you don't have to take the steering wheel out, and you don't have to take that metal bar out, but you'll figure it out as you go along. You figure out maybe a better way of doing it, and if you do, share it. Share it with the guys, because some of the poor sucker is going to buy a car like this. I feel sorry for him, you know, because when you buy a car like this, it's going to have high mileage, it's going to be old, and it's going to be at that part of its life where it's going to need attention, and things like that. I don't mind taking my car to Audi Center. They can work on the engine, they can work on the gearbox and all that stuff, and the wheels or whatnot. But I don't like them actually working on the interior of my car, because they tend to break clips, they tend to break things, and then when you get your car back, you have a squeak or a rattle, and you don't know where it's coming from. So I actually had something down here that used to make a noise every time I went around a corner. It would like cluck, 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 cluck. I would hear this noise. And when we had the seat out, I actually had to look up the vents underneath the seat that go up here, and we found a pink crayon that had been shoved up there by a little minion from a previous owner of this car. So we managed to pry it out by sticking some silly putty onto the end of a long stick, and we managed to get it out. So now when I go around corners, I no longer have to hear that sound, because it was really irritating. I even ripped the carpet up. I took that whole plastic panel off there and I ripped the carpet up to see if there was something under the carpet, and I found a little stone, and I thought, oh well, it's the stone. And then I still heard the noise, and I thought, oh well, now I give up. I really don't. I don't know. So yeah, look, it's raining. So good luck. And if you do have any questions, you can drop me a line, and I'll try and answer you if I can. If you've got questions about the sound system, and where I got it, how to fit it, you can have a look at my other videos as well, which I did on the sound system. I did mention where I got it, how I bought it, how much it cost, and all that stuff. So I'm not going to waste any more time here. Thanks for watching. Greetings and salutations.